2026 is here. Welcome to the Run Home, brought to you by Bailey Ladders. Mark Winterbottom is here. James Pavey from supercars.com is here. Frosty, what a weekend in Sydney, mate. The racing was insane. What are your thoughts straight away?
It was good. It was good to get back on track and see cars back on track in anger. Lots of storylines. That was really cool. I think, the off-season, there was a lot of, unfinished business for some people, closure in the championship for Chaz. So lots of stories unfolding, but the talk stopped and the cars hit the track. And I was really impressed by a few people, to be honest. A couple of smokies, which we're going to talk about, but really good to see cars back on track.
Yeah, you're talking about impressive. I mean, Brock Feeney straight away, new car. 888, a massive off-season. They built 4 new cars, 3 of them were on track. 2 wins out of 3. Are you surprised by that?
No, because I've raced 888 for a very long time, and whatever manufacturer they were in, they were very good. But I was really impressed with Brock Feeney, and I think people know he's taken last year to heart, and he's an emotional guy, and that interview we saw at Adelaide was huge. But he's a really good kid. Like, I really have a lot of time for Brock, and to see him bounce back and that relief, to see his relief, it was like the demon left his body, it was just like he was holding on to it, and that shows how much he wants to win and how much success means to him. But when he won on Friday night and you saw, I chatted to him, he was emotionally spent, but really satisfied. It was really, really good to see. And then to see him bounce back Sunday, they had pit dramas, whatever, on Saturday, bounce back Sunday, he stamped his authority. He was physically spent Sunday afternoon. We saw him hop out the car. But I reckon that's a hangover from Christmas too, or the emotion he's carried. You get tired. So I'm really impressed at what he did. On the flip side, Will Brown probably under-delivered in some ways, in the same equipment, and qualified okay, but in the races it didn't go to plan. So 888, yes, really impressed by Brock, but the other side of the garage, they still need to probably iron out a few things. So sort of 50-50 split on what I think about their debut.
What's your experience of cool suit failures and cool suit issues? I mean, all those Adelaide races in the past, nudging towards 40 degrees. We were both there on Saturday, and the heat was oppressive. It's not the hottest day in the world, but the humidity when the rain was circling around was really, really tough. Those guys would have been going through it. What's your experience of that?
They're always hot, the cars are hot, but Eastern Creek, for some reason, the airflow doesn't come in the car. I've had it before, the night race, previously one of the years. I remember being really hot, and the airflow, I don't know if it's the way the track layout is and the way the wind direction is, but those knacker ducts on the side of the car, which is the hole in the windscreen, they don't seem that effective. So, but I do believe, Reynolds, Will Brown, and Brock Feeney, they all run the air conditioning type system. So I believe they were operating, but in the humidity, and if they have like a slight blockage, it can actually work against you. And the biggest part is having a cool suit not flowing. The water sits on your body and that turns to hot water. So effectively you carry a hot water bottle. So, people always ask, are our drivers athletes? And I sat down and drove from Sydney to Newcastle for 2 hours. How hard is it? Well, that sort of shows the athleticism of what the drivers are. And we train for those tough days. You don't train for the easy days, you train for the tough days, and it hurts. The whole body tingles, and the worst part of it is the in-lap after a race. The adrenaline dies and you feel all the pain coming in on that in-lap. And it's bad to see, but it's good to see because it shows how tough these cars are to drive and to push to the limits.
What would the recovery be like for those guys in the days after that race? Because we've got the Grand Prix next weekend. Is that too short a turnaround to be 100%?
Thankfully, the Grand Prix is short format. So physically, it's one of the easier races that the guys will go to, but it hurts. Like the days after, you feel flat, you feel very lethargic, you're dehydrated. So you've got to work hard to get your hydration back up. You've got to recover well, and it does knock you around. It's like doing a marathon, and a week later, hey, fly to Melbourne and get ready for the Grand Prix, and so it does knock you around. But the guys are good. They recover well. They're straight in the ice baths. They're in Dr. Carl's hands, which is a good guy to have. And, the hydration, we saw it getting straight back in. That's the biggest thing, the fluid out and the fluid back in. So they'll work hard, but thankfully it's not another, Adelaide coming up or a Townsville or something super physical. The Grand Prix you do get away with.
So Brock had to put up with that heat. You also had to put up with Kai Allen. Your thoughts on that spectacular move around the outside? You were in the comm box. I mean, I think you said you'd never seen that before. Extraordinary, wasn't it?
Big move, really big move. I don't know if I'd pull that move off, to be honest. But life's about opportunity, isn't it? And this is where these young guys are very, very good. And they're not thinking about the risk. They just see an opportunity and they just barrel in there at 270 kilometres an hour. The track was greasy. And if you get it wrong, that's a massive off that he has. That's in the fence, turn 1, 270k an hour, and it would hurt. You pull it off. It's one of the best moves I've seen for a very, very long time. So that was huge, but also credit to Brock. They went wheel to wheel. His spatial awareness to know where Kai was. It's very easy to just open the wheel up and escort that outside car off the track a little bit, not intentionally, but just that's what we do. So this awareness from him was huge as well. So those two young, they're not inexperienced, but I'm sure Kai hasn't gone around the outside at Sydney Motorsport Park before. You're trialling on the run, and both guys did really well. So I thought Kai had glimpses of brilliance in the weekend, but actually was up and down. He was very inconsistent. So for him to turn up Sunday and deliver and get unlucky, that was not his fault, but it was really important. That was a statement for him to show that he's not, he's still a contender, and that finals 4 thing from last year it's not a fluke and not luck. But that was a statement by far. That was one of the biggest statements on the weekend.
Well, speaking of not being a fluke, I think we should get into our Bailey Ladders Who Stepped Up segment of this podcast, Frosty. I mean, 3 words on everyone's lips, Blanchard Racing Team. They were unbelievable. I think locking out the front row for a race on Friday, a double podium on Friday, probably some missed opportunities for the rest of the weekend after that, especially on Sunday with the wheel coming off the Golding car and Cameron being turned around by Kostecki, which we'll get into in a second. But man, what a weekend by those guys. Did you see that coming? Are you surprised by that?
Massively. They stepped up massively, so they're worthy earners of the Bailey Ladders Award, that's for sure. I think, the first night in practice when Golding went P1, lots of people were saying he's P1 because he ran 3 sets of brand new tyres, and there's always the I'll be better tomorrow type philosophy. But then the next day they delivered, and they just continued to keep delivering. So no, I didn't expect that at all. I don't think anyone did. So at one point they were leading the team's championship. They were going to be position 1 in pit lane ahead of Triple Eight, Tickford, DJR, like the list goes on. They were the dominant team of the weekend in terms of 2 drivers. So, but they've got a good team. Like there's a guy there, Dennis Suzia, who he's not a crew chief, he's not a team manager, he's like a performance engineer, and he's very, very good. He was at Team 18 when I was there. So when he's around, I don't doubt anything. And then they've implemented Triple Eight, then they've got a brand new driver and the new engineer, and there's a lot of reshuffle going on there. But they look like they belong. They were fast, consistently fast. It wasn't just one day, it was every day they were in the top 10. But the thing they need to do now is learn to race, learn to pit at the right time. And that's where Triple Eight beat them Friday night, was experience.
There were a few wobbles as well. I think hearing about in pit lane, there was a bit of scuttlebutt about wing angle on the Golding car, and they seemed to get away with that, and they started from the front row. But I think you're right. I think there were probably some opportunities missed for those guys, which is it's hard to say really, kind of unfair because it's the first time they've been close to having 2 cars on the podium. But to not win that race on Friday, do you think that will galvanise them to really move forward and think about strategies from this point onwards?
I give them 2 mindsets. If I was team owner, Tim Blanchard, I'd look at it 2 ways. One, if this is our only chance to win for the year, we failed. But if they do what they did, they're going to get a lot of opportunities this year. And that's about learning and developing. So that's the hard part in this sport. A race win is so difficult when you're up against the calibre in the pit lane. And if it is your only chance, you look back and you stew on that and have nightmares for the next couple of months, because a race win, like I said, so difficult. So when you're in front, don't throw it away. But if you can learn from it and at the Grand Prix, qualify back up the front and, pit stops aren't an issue there, but not make same mistakes going forward, then it's okay. But we'll see. A couple of months, it'd be nice to go chat to Timmy Blanchard and say, hey, how do you feel about Sydney? And if he's had 4 wins, he won't care. If he's had 0 wins and no podiums again, that'll be a missed opportunity.
Well, speaking of nightmares, it wasn't the easiest weekend for Toyota straight out the gate, Frosty. There were disqualifications, there were poor results in practice and qualifying, but to the end of Sunday, all 5 Supras in the top 10 in that race. A chaotic weekend for those guys, but there was a sense of relief. I was talking to Brad Jones across the weekend, Bruce Stewart, and they were just like, well, we're learning. It's going to be a process. Even Ryan Walkinshaw said, we got those results on Sunday because people, quote, ran out of talent in the wet. But you've got to get those results, Frosty, get runs on the board. What's your assessment of Toyota?
I'm not sure. I'm sitting on the fence at the moment, to be honest, because I thought, yes, they roll out. There's teething issues, there always is. But I thought Andre Heimgartner was really good early. He sort of carried the flag. When everyone's looking at Walkinshaw and number 1 and the 2 drivers there, Chaz and Ryan Wood. Ryan Wood is so fast. So to see them under pressure and how they react, it was actually really good to watch. But I think Andre carried the flag early in the weekend and he did a really good job, but then he had an engine failure and a few things, on Saturday, and it flows on. So I don't know, I'm up and down a bit because, yeah, it's new and all that side, but I think they've done a lot of work behind the scenes too. But I picked Toyota to win a race this year. I said on the broadcast, I said Toyota will win this year. And sometimes it can look painful, but you've got to have pain to learn, because if they had a rolled out and won, you don't develop very quickly. So little things, engine, throttle maps, little bit of engine response. People don't see how important when you crack the throttle, what that does to the car. If you have a nice engine ramp, it can rotate the car for you. You can change the handling of the car. So I think they've got a few little things to tidy up there. The aero is different, but I don't think that's it. I think it's more the engine mapping. I think that'll be the biggest gain that they find, because with aero, they go and do a wind tunnel test and they give you all the data, and engineers look at it. Okay, 200 kilos on the front splitter, the rear wing at this angle gives you this, the ride height, the rake, you can kind of work it out quite quickly. So I think they'll be working hard on the engine response and throttle maps, and could turn around really quickly. So I don't know, I'm in 2 parts, how quickly they get on top of that, and if they do, I think they'll be quite successful quite quickly.
The DQ for Chaz Mostert from the Saturday race, do you kind of give them a free pass because they've been so busy developing, or is that a result they just can't afford to lose if you want to get points to get in the finals?
I'm always sympathetic to the team. I've let them down before, so it's an honest mistake. It's not something they're trying to do to fudge the system, but at the same time, you've got to be across everything, and this sport punishes you if you slip in one department. And that's why winning the championship for them with that same team was so good. They're a team of champions and they won for a reason. So although they've changed manufacturer, you still can't, attention to detail still has to be everything. So the sympathetic on round 1, I guess, and then, but yeah, they won't make that mistake again. But it's good for the sport. You make a mistake, you get punished, and that's disqualification. Doesn't matter if you've got a new car, a Toyota, a Chev, a Ford. If you do the wrong thing, you get a slap on the wrist and you cop the punishment. So, and Chaz took that really well, which was good to see.
Yeah, that leads us to our next point, Frosty, is it seemed like the stewards were cracking the whip a fair bit, not only off track, but on track as well. There were a lot of incidents that were judged, I think, pretty fairly. I'd like to get your opinion on a few of these incidents, but straight away, Brodie Kostecki, Aaron Cameron, it's the incident that everyone's talking about. 15-second penalty for Brodie. The turn 2 is quite an awkward one with multiple apexes and what have you, but what are your thoughts on that clash and the war of words afterwards?
There's always war of words, isn't there, when you get taken out, but Brodie just misjudged it. It looks like it's a very long corner, so he saw Aaron Cameron, and we saw alternate lines at Sydney. I've never seen turn 2 get used where you go literally on the white line around the outside and turn back, because the surface on the inside is so bad now that the outside was the superior line. So when Aaron Cameron took that line on the last lap, he should have blocked. Like, you don't let someone have a look up the inside. So Brodie saw a hole, took it, but then on that old surface got a lot of understeer, and Aaron Cameron come back down and he hit the rear. So it's just a misjudgment. But I think initially, if I was Aaron Cameron, I'd go narrow. So that's his mistake initially, but the contact is all on Brodie Kostecki. So I don't know if it's a 15-second penalty or a 10-second or a 12.5 or 7.5. I don't know what the time should be, because it's a big consequence. The fact that Aaron Cameron couldn't get going and stopped, often they give a penalty on the outcome, and it ruined Aaron's race, so rightfully so it ruins Brodie's. But it wasn't the only time Brodie did that. You know, the move on Bates, he looked impatient, very impatient on the weekend, and I think he feels like this is his opportunity to pounce, because with all the change, like up and down pit lane, Toyota and, you know, Triple Eight going to Ford and engineers shifting, he's got continuity, and it was a really good opportunity for him to roll out the gate strong. And I think you could feel that sense of urgency with him. And but he was very, very fast. He was one of the standouts on the weekend, speed-wise, but comes away with not many points to show.
Yeah, I mean, if you leave the weekend top 5 in the championship, which is better than what he was last year, and still feel like you missed a few opportunities, I think Brodie's one to watch for sure. The other incident that caught my attention on Sunday was also involving Brodie. Will Brown, Anton De Pasquale, a bit of a sandwich coming out of turn 4. Is that just a bit of a consequence of that corner, or Brown just got that wrong?
I don't know how to pick that one. It's probably a good one for you to give me your thoughts. We might be different on this, but 3 into 1 never goes, and it's hard when you're in the wet, and like, it's great racing, so you want to push for that sort of stuff to happen. Unfortunately, that new surface that was laid is really slippery in the wet, so that added a bit of fuel to the fire as well. But I don't know, because one hit another. Someone got spun. Like, it was just if that was a lap 1 incident, it would have looked differently to a restart incident. So I don't know how to take that one, because whenever a car gets turned around, they have to address it and govern it. But if that was a lap 1, turn 1 type scenario at Townsville or Sydney Motorsport Park turn 2, it may have been play on, in my opinion, in some ways. So I don't know, it'd be good to get your thoughts on it, but for me, the racer, I kind of don't know who was at fault, because everyone hit each other.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to the point of the consequences and the outcomes, and the stewards really cracking the whip. I think Craig Baird does a really, really good job in officiating those incidents, but I think at the end of the day, for me watching it, when Anton went around and went to the back, I think there had to be some sort of penalty. Brown had ambition to get down the inside, but you're right, because it was a restart, cars are always going to get bunched up, and turn 4, along with turn 8, which was resurfaced, was very grippy, and drivers were talking about that, and Brodie did make that point post-race, and it's an interesting one, and I think it kind of goes back to Will Brown just having a tough weekend. It just was a 50-50 call that he had to make to try and make some ground, but when 3 into 1 didn't really go and 2 cars went around, and it was Anton De Pasquale who was the championship leader, maybe there was some punishment that needed to be handed out, and it was. So if I'm thinking like that, I think it's fair enough, but I think we need to go towards the end of this podcast, Frosty. Anton De Pasquale, Cam Waters and Matt Payne. We've mentioned Brock Feeney. Those 3 guys, genuine contenders. It's amazing that Matt and Cam can have a pretty quiet weekend relative to the others and be so close to the points lead. Who of those 4 do you think can win the Sprint Cup in a few rounds' time? I know it's a big call, but there's some really good drivers there making some ground. Yeah,
Matt did a good job, but he wasn't as dominant as I thought he'd be, but he did enough, because the Kai Allen on Sunday at Penrite is what I probably expected Matt to be all weekend, but he was just there, wasn't he? Every time you look at the time shed, he was P1 provisional in some qualifyings. He was up the front. The strategy was quite aggressive for him. He went very early, which probably took him out of play a little bit sometimes, but he's consistent. Every round he's there or thereabouts. Even when he qualifies poorly in the race, he's somewhere up the front. That goes for Cam Waters too, like qualifying 20th for Sunday. I spoke to him after qualifying, he's like, Yeah, I'll be right in the race. He was a bit under the weather too. He wasn't feeling 100%, but he was still confident. And when you qualified 20th and have that sort of confidence that you can get a result, it's pretty powerful because we see others throw the hands up in the air and it's done. So I think the fight back for him was very, very important. And then De Pasquale, he needs to go well because for Chevrolet, he's representing them purely on his own. Zach Bates was actually pretty good on the weekend, but De Pasquale needs to deliver because if he doesn't, then it's all Fords at the moment with a couple of Toyotas, you know, fourth, fifth, whatever it was on Sunday. So he needs to deliver. So yeah, impressive from those three for different reasons, but pressure's on him because before you know it, it'll be end of the Sprint Cup, like you said, and 10 spots are going to actually be pretty hard to lock down this year. But who wins it? I think Brock Feeney still comes out Sprint Cup champion. He's going to get better as the year goes on. That Ford will get better and better and better, and his confidence is going to get better and better, and I can't see him getting beat, to be honest, at the moment.
Grand Prix next weekend. It's hard to believe. It's a massively short turnaround. A bit of an oxymoron there. Frosty, tough track. It's a fast track. Who's your early tip to go well there?
It's all qualifying. The Grand Prix is qualifying. The team can't help you too much at that place. So you put the car on pole position, you're a very good chance. It's a big, long run to turn 1, 2. So got to qualify well. You've got to be a good starter. If you're bad at those two, you may as well just buy a ticket to the Grand Prix and watch the F1s because you get punished on track. So Brock Feeney very fast last year there. He dominated qualifying, and I'd assume the same, but who knows? You know, Brody, he's very quick at the moment. Brody was at Sydney, I thought, very quick. That just was unlucky with rain in the shootout and a couple of things. He just got unlucky, but he's very fast. So I think it's going to be Brock Feeney versus Brody Kostecki for pole position.
Well, it's going to be a massive weekend. March 5 to 8, the Grand Prix, Melbourne. We love that place. We love that circuit. It's super fast, super wild. Cars 3-4 wide sometimes, Frosty. I can't wait to watch. Thanks for joining us. The Bailey Ladders run home. We'll see you next time.